This happened to me about an hour ago, and I can't seem to wrap my head around it. I was riding my moped back to my house when I pulled up to a red light. Next to me there's a budget moving truck, and before I could make a right on the red light, I heard multiple loud bangs and screams coming from the back of the truck. There were two pedestrians who also noticed it, and as soon as we turned our attention to the driver, the light turned green, and it took off pretty quickly. I wasn't able to get the license plate because everything happened so fast, but I can't seem to shake the thought of someone screaming for help in the back of that truck. It almost feels straight out of a movie. Anyways, I wanted to know what you guys think, or if you've ever encountered something like this before, and if you did, what did you do? So recently I moved to an older house with my whole family, my mom, aunts, uncles, brothers, and cousins, so that we could take care of our grandparents who were very old. The only house that had enough rooms for all of us and was available is a very, very old wooden house. In the room of one of my cousins, there's a small door that leads into a kind of a basement. The former owner of the house said that he lost the only key to that door a long time ago. That already left me with anxiety and nervousness. My cousin says at night it makes little noises, and my uncle says that there are probably mice inside. At that same time, some of my cousin's things and mine are disappearing. My room is right next to his. The food we buy in large quantities because of the number of people has been going too fast. My mom says it's because our cousins are going through puberty and eating a lot, but I hear strange noises in the house and I feel like I'm being watched. Everyone else says that I only have that impression because I'm a pussy and the house is old. I have always been a paranoid and very anxious person, and I confess that I am quite fearful. But I'm not able to relax a minute in this house because it feels like someone unwanted is in it. I know that no one in my family is going to investigate or worry about it because I'm just a 15-year-old kid with a big imagination according to them. But I can't stop this constant fear in this place. So I walk my dog every day at late hours so she can sleep through the night. She's a bit old by now, and she once got into a traffic accident, meaning that she can't hold her pee every now and then. The route is almost the same every time, at almost the same hours, 9 p.m. through 10 p.m. My fiance and I live in the more quiet part of town, and by this time of night, it's even more quiet, and no one is in the streets in this part. Additionally, it's more of a side street with less than no streetlights or houses. There's a certain part of bushes and a part of grass where my dog likes to do her business. She's outgoing and very cheerful, likes to jump around and run. But this one day, at this part of our route, she was kind of acting up, like she was cautious or something. I felt her uneasiness and felt somewhat anxious myself by now. So we go out of our way where her favorite potty place is and proceed with our routine. As I stand there, I heard sounds behind me, like branches being moved and leaves being stepped on, and my dog reacted to it with a mixture of growling and whimpering. I'm fucking nervous at this point and just want to go home. I proceed on my way. No longer than several minutes later, a man came out of the bushes where I stood before with my dog. He stared directly in my way, just standing there. I froze in surprise and fear, and I couldn't move. My dog barked, and all of a sudden, he sprinted towards me. At this point, I kind of ran without thinking. I arrived then on a path with houses and, thank God, light. I looked behind me, and he wasn't there anymore. I always felt safe when walking there, but lately, I get a feeling that I'm being watched or followed. I can't describe it. My dog sensed something too a few weeks before. I didn't tell my fiance that this happened because I didn't want her to worry. Nothing similar ever happened again, but I still freak out when I walk that way. So shady man waiting in the bushes at night. Let's not meet again. Nowadays, it's so easy to connect with someone. All you have to do is pick up your phone, download an app, and boom, now you can see all the eligible bachelors in a close radius without getting out of bed. But just a year ago, something happened that changed my mind about online dating forever. I was 21 at the time and getting a bit tired of my mundane life. I was scrolling down through a popular dating app, and that's when I saw him. Tall, blonde, blue eyes, pretty smile, perfect. We instantly matched and agreed on dinner and cuddles at his place. Yes, I know, never go to a stranger's house on the first date, but I was trying to score a home run, if you know what I mean. I shower, slip on my favorite pair of kicks, threw on a big t-shirt and shorts, rubbed my favorite perfume, and was out the door. When I pulled up to his 3-story townhouse, I said, his living arrangements seemed to match up with his line of work, so of course, I had no doubt he was who he said he was. I go up to his door and knock. About 15 seconds later, the most handsome man I've ever laid my eyes on opened the door. Instantly, we connected. We dated for about 4 weeks, but one day he looks over at me and says, "Can I tell you something?" "Well, of course, babe," quickly answer, eager to hear what he was going to say. He looks me dead in the eye, straight faced, and says, "When I saw you on the app, I planned on killing you." His hand reaches over and caresses mine. But I changed my mind. Chills went down my spine as I knew he was not joking. Completely paralyzed in fear, I just stared at him, unable to speak, unable to move. He moves closer and says, "Babe," and that's when I snapped out of it. I grabbed my purse, ran out of his door, blocked and deleted his number, and quite frankly, deleted the whole app. Hot guy from the dating app, let's never ever fucking meet again. I'm a male, if that matters, and this has been happening these past few days. 4 days ago, I couldn't fall asleep, and when I saw a light coming into my living room from the window around 2:30 a.m. Layout of my apartment. The entrance door goes to my living room. To the right is the bedroom of my roommate, who hasn't been here for a week. To the left is my kitchen, then my bedroom, and then the bathroom. The apartment is on the ground floor, and the first one when you enter the building. When I get up, my dog, half Labrador, half Border Collie, is growling. The light moved towards my dog and me. It turns off, and I can hear someone walking away. This morning, I wake up at 4 a.m. to my dog growling. She likes to sleep under my bed, and I kind of saw a shape in the kitchen window. We do that half dance of moving to the left and right, kind of like seeing if it's real. My dog walks towards the door of the apartment and stays there. I grabbed a machete and a flashlight, walked out. My dog is going nuts, and I didn't let her out. The building door is closed, and I couldn't really see anything out of the ordinary. I went back inside and closed the door, and for half an hour later, I hear someone walking down the stairs and around the building and opening the door. But this was around 5 a.m., so it could have been someone going to work. This is very tame compared to other stories that are posted here, but the situation has me unnerved. This happened a few years ago when I was 16 or 17. I don't remember. I'm a female. I was chilling with my best friend, who was the same age, in kind of an empty street. I live in a big city and it's broad daylight, but the streets are always like that. Some people walk by, but mostly in cars. We were sitting somewhere in the street and drinking Red Bull, listening to music. Then a black car stopped in front of us, and an old lady was inside, looking sort of rich. She seemed to be wearing nice clothes and jewelry, and her hair was well done. First, I thought she was going to ask us something, like most people do, but as soon as she opened her mouth, I knew something was off. The way she talked was weird. Just weird. I don't really know how to explain it. It was like hearing someone that was on too much Xanax or an opiate. I remember asking myself if she was on drugs. This kind of slow and slightly slurred speech. She said that she could buy us alcohol and beers. Then she insisted on how pretty we were and how she could buy us nice things if we got into her car. My friend was very tense since the beginning, but she looked at me slightly panicked when the old lady said this. We both knew that there was absolutely no way that we would get into the car. I said to the lady that if she wanted to buy us nice things, she could just give it to us right there. But she kept saying that she could give us a ride. I kept looking around and in the back of the car to see if there were men with her, ready to run away with my friend. At this point, adrenaline was going wild, and I had flashbacks of the movie Taken and the kidnapping. I was ready to leave the spot with my friend when the old lady finally understood that we weren't getting into her car. When she left, my friend and I moved to a different spot. We talked about it and what the lady was planning for us. We agreed that it was probably sex trafficking because it had all the red flags. The old lady gaining our trust, the comments on our appearance, how she wanted to get us drunk with beers, etc. After that, my biggest regret was that I didn't take a picture of the car and the license plate number. And the thought of other girls getting kidnapped by this lady is haunting me, and I really hope no one got in her damn car. Just some background about how I sleep. It isn't hard to wake me up, but it's hard to keep me up. I'll almost always open my eyes for a few seconds, say something, to shoo away whoever woke me up, and then fall back asleep, without remembering anything the next morning. So me and my friends spent a lot of time together on PlayStation, and at night we would usually talk ourselves to sleep over Discord, or at least I did, since she never sleeps. She just plays a game while I fall asleep. One night we talked, and she was playing video games. I fell asleep around 9 or 10. I was pretty tired since I didn't get much sleep the night before. I woke up on my own about 8 a.m. and she was still awake, asking me if I was okay. I responded with, yeah, why wouldn't I be? And she started talking about how last night, on my mic, she heard a girl scream and then start crying on my end of the mic while she played Overwatch. She almost thought it was me at first, but as the sobbing got a little quieter, she heard one of my sleep grunts in the background. She got really scared and apparently woke me up after it happened, asking me if it was alright and if anyone was in my room. I just told her that I was okay and my room was empty, but she could tell I didn't look as I didn't move. I learned later that this happened sometime around 12 a.m. to 12:30, and it lasted a full minute. My parents, who were both home in the rooms on either side of mine, didn't hear anything. As they both worked the night shift, they were both awake at this time and later in the night. This was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and one other time, more recently, I was only half asleep, and she said she heard the screaming, but she ended the call and called me back to wake me up. But once again, I didn't hear anything. Since then, we haven't been doing that, but I don't know if it still happens or what it is. She definitely isn't the type to lie, and she seemed really spooked about it, so I believe her fully. If any of you know what it could be, I'd appreciate some explanations or advice on what I should do. Last night, my roommate and I made a last-minute decision to go night swimming at the river in our city. It was around 8 p.m., so there were still a few people hanging out in the area, but it was quite dark. About 15 minutes after we got there, I saw a man shining his flashlight, seemingly looking for something near where we put our stuff. I said, "Hey, keep an eye on that guy," to my roommate, semi-loud, and he obviously heard us and scurried away. I began to feel anxious, but I waited a little bit to say something to my roommate. Eventually, I did, and we decided to leave. We packed up our stuff and began to walk up a staircase that led to the parking lot, using our flashlights to see the steps. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a dark shadow dodge into some bushes at the top. I stopped and grabbed my roommate's arm and said, nope, and started walking back down the stairs. I told my roommate what I saw when we got to the bottom, and she said it was probably just a tree blowing in the wind. I started getting the strangest feeling in my stomach that I had never had before. I just knew that if we went up the stairs, something bad was going to happen. I stood at the bottom and began to shine my light up at the top, trying to see if I could see anyone. And sure enough, I saw the outline of a man for a split second. As soon as the light hit him, he ducked behind some bushes again. Obviously, I went into full-blown panic mode and started looking for other people that were there, hoping that someone could walk us to her car. Luckily, we found a couple not far from the steps, and they walked us to the car, but seemed quite annoyed about it. When we got on top of the steps, he was nowhere to be seen. A few hours after we got home, I got a notification on my neighbor's app, the Ring doorbell app that sends crime alerts from your area, that someone was stabbed only a few streets from where we were. I'm 100% certain this guy's intentions were bad. I don't know if he was planning on kidnapping us or robbing us, but I know something really bad would have happened if I hadn't been paying attention and we had walked up the stairs. Not sure if it's the same person that stabbed someone, but the notification just scared me even more. I still feel sick to my stomach because of all this. My husband was a trucker with a cross-country firm at the time. His driving partner separated from his girlfriend. According to the hubs, he couldn't afford to get his own place. I did find it odd because he made as much as my husband, who could clearly afford to keep a roof over our head. My little one was a newborn, and I was off on maternity leave. So his buddy moves into the spare room and makes himself at home. I do mean at home. He'd walk into the living room and change the channel while I was watching TV, or turn on the stereo, fry himself a steak as a midnight snack, or eat an entire box of donuts and thought nothing of it. He would take a shower and drop his dirty clothes on the floor for me to pick up and wash, and he stared at me a lot. I found him creepy and inconsiderate and told my husband so. Finally, after a couple months of arguing about our unwelcome charity case, who never paid a cent, I told my husband that it was either him or me. This sparked a huge argument between the two of them, with his buddy accusing my husband of being pussy whooped and for not standing up for his friends. That did it for my husband, and he told the guy that he needed to get out now. My husband drove him to a hotel, and we thought that that was the end of it. The next day, we went to get groceries, as I had stopped buying anything but essentials, so his buddy wouldn't eat everything. Imagine our shock when we get home and Buddy walks out of the kitchen, wearing my husband's clothes and smoking his pipe. As you could imagine, the shit hit the fan. I went straight into the kitchen and phoned the police. In those days, there was no dialing 911, so it was taking a bit, and he heard me talking. He bolted out of the house, and we never saw him again. He never turned up to work again either. We discovered that he had broken in through the basement window, so we boarded up the basement and changed the locks. A week or so later, I decided to use my cash nest egg I stashed in my underwear drawer. It was gone, and I realized that several pairs of my underpants were gone as well. I considered phoning the cops again at that point, but decided we didn't want to be reminded of him, and we moved shortly thereafter. I sure hope the next tenants never got an unexpected house guest. Yesterday, I met a man who really terrified me. I struggle a lot with mental health, and I don't enjoy socializing. Therefore, I got in touch with this particular man whom my municipality found through their organization, where people with different struggles get support and help with socializing from a person who has this at their job. It's like a big brother, big sister kind of job. Literally anyone can get in touch and explain that they want this kind of job. It doesn't matter who they are. Anyways, as I sat down and waited for him, I was extremely nervous. I'm always nervous when it comes to meeting new people, mostly because I don't know what to say, how to interpret what they tell me, what to look at while talking to them, and so on. When he went up to where I was seated, my gut immediately said, "No, you're not safe with this person." I just pushed through this though, and tried to ignore my gut feeling. He didn't say almost anything. He didn't ask me questions. He didn't talk about himself. He looked and felt distant. He wore what looked like old clothes. When I asked him questions, he almost never responded. If he did respond, he weakly answered yes or no. The few times he actually talked, it didn't make much sense, and he talked so unclearly that I had to ask him multiple times to repeat himself. If I didn't keep the conversation going, he wouldn't talk at all. Occasionally, he would mumble something inaudible and almost expect me to give him a response. The only time he talked to me more clearly was when he told me, "I don't like people staring in at my house. I use blinds so no one can stare. There were a few people who would walk by my house and are able to take a look through my window, but it doesn't happen often. I should get a lamp in my house. It's so dark there." I freaked the hell out and wanted my father to come and get me. He said he wanted to keep in touch, but I didn't give him a direct answer to his statement. I told him I had to catch the bus for my ride home, and he immediately said, "So do I," and went the same direction as me. Luckily, my father told me that he was nearby and was able to pick me up. I know the situation probably doesn't seem very creepy or sketchy, but I was absolutely terrified. By the way, we went for a walk, and he wanted to walk into the forest, but I told him I didn't want to. He asked me why, and when I told him it felt more comfortable to walk in public, he just answered, "Oh." Also, when I asked him what he did for a living, he very weakly said, "I run my own company. I had many customers before, but haven't had any for a while." He didn't really tell me anything about what he worked with through his company and with his customers, and seemed reluctant to even share the slightest amount of personal information. He looked way older than the age he described himself as.